once you earn your bachelor's degree, then you can move on to getting your master's. And most schools, in order to become a counselor, you have to have a master's degree, in the field of counseling. And I was also in a PhD, program in educational, psychology. I didn't end up finishing it because I had my, two sons, and so I stopped, to make sure that they, had all their needs met. And right now, both of them are doctorates as well. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. Great question. Great question. So, yes.
What are some of the challenges young people face as a counselor pertaining to education?
I would definitely have to say one of the biggest challenges that I think that students have is technology, for two reasons. One is technology and not having enough access to it, and also when it comes to cell phones and using it a lot and being on it a lot, it really takes away, distract students from learning, and I find that when I'm work with students who I feel that are very, very capable, very talented students, they tend to be screening a lot on media, and it pulls your attention away from what is important, and sometimes that means that students tend to socialize a lot more than they should. And so when in the school system, all over, I don't see students really sitting down and talking to each other. They're usually on their cell phone most of the time, and that's who they communicate with. And really, we need the communication with each other, because if I go back to what I said before, is that when I was in undergraduate school, and also in high school, one of the biggest benefits I had was learning from my peers, and that means having good conversations, about life and about our journey and about the things that we wanted to do in life. And those things don't happen as much as they should be. So even with you guys, here, today, and I was sitting in the back, I really, felt very, blessed to see, young people, here singing and just enjoying, the message. And those kinds of things are very, very extremely important to happen, not just, in here, but outside as well.
Awesome questions. Thank you, guys. Dainty, welcome to the conversation. I'm sorry, I kind of focused on Coach, yes, because of some information I received. So, Dainty, can you tell us, how did you discover your passion for medicine and for helping others?
Amen. No, I mean, I have to be honest, because I know where you guys are, because I've been there for a lot of you guys. And I can't say that when I was a child, I was like, I want to be a nurse. That's all I ever wanted to be. No. In fact, all the way through high school, I was like, I'm going to go to law school. That's where the money's at. But essentially, God really had to touch my heart, because as a person who was, actively in ministry, actively pursuing God, actively trying to be a missionary, walking in that, when God said the money is not what I want out of your life, and literally closed the door rapidly. It was something that I had to humble myself and just be obedient. And it's been one of the easiest paths that I've taken, even though it's been the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's literally just obedience.
Oh, my Lord, I thought she was going to preach for a moment. Sounds like a whole message. Wow, wonderful. So back to you. Is your mic good?
Oh, no.
how can young people, such as our audience here today, explore the field of accounting and gain, the relevant experience to go far in the field?
Um, I would say accounting is very broad. So I studied accounting, but I'm more in financial service. So I do internal audit, and that's under the accounting.
So how can someone here today, a young person, explore this field? Where do they start and how do they get to where they need to step by step?
That's a good question. You can explore it many ways. How I did it was through college, right? And I would say just do an internship, right? And it's what kind of role do you want? So, like I said, it's broad. It's accounting in hospitals. It's accounting in banks. It's accounting in all business. So it's which business you want to be in, right? I wanted to do financial service, so I know that's very competitive. You have to start now. I would say in high school, like look for an internship, right? In accounting, it can be unpaid. I start off with unpaid at a nonprofit just to like learn, just the basic steps. And I would say basically anything. You have to, with my industry, they're just looking for someone who's hardworking, determined, quick to learn. So you just have to prove to them that that's who you are, right? So for me, starting off just from a nonprofit internship, talking about my experience, having good grades, and my passion and like what I can add, you can just get anything and get anywhere.
All right. So she's all into money, right? So we have a group of youth that have probably some issues with money management. We get paid and we go straight to Zara and all the lovely stores and we spend. What are some strategies that you can give to them to better save for their future?
True. I am all into money. And it's funny because I would know like some of my coworkers, they into finance, they learn finance and they do not know personal finance. So I encourage everyone to like learn personal finance, teach yourself, learn about credit card, learn about, credit card is really great if you know how to use it, learn how to budget and learn now, right? Because it does a lot for you in the future. So what I would say, what some things that I do is just put money away. When you get your pay, have two different accounts, right? I set up an automatic pay like transfer from the bank that the money is going into. As soon as it drop into as soon as my pay is drop into my account, it goes into like a offline savings. So when I say offline saving, it's like a high yield savings account that I can't even access to it until like I transfer it over and things like that. So I'm thinking of a better way to say it. It's online. So I can't go to the bank. I don't have like a debit card to like take it out. And you wouldn't even know. Like you could start off low with $50 a month, $50 a paycheck, $100 a paycheck, and you wouldn't even know that it's coming out because you're not seeing it. So and then it's also hard to take it out too, because because it takes like 24 hours or on the next day. So it works and it did so much for me. Like every month I go into it, I'm like, oh my, I saved all this. So it's good. It's good.
Awesome. So some self-discipline there, right? And just being intentional about it. Okay, wonderful. So Dainty, so you talk about, that nursing not being your first choice of career. So getting to that, can you tell us about your journey? What were some challenges you faced? How did you overcome those and just make it to where you are?
Yeah, so I learned early in life that I was smart. Like I was always top of my class, so being smart is one thing that already gives you an advantage. But how do you navigate just being smart? Because when you feel like you're smart, you know you can do anything. anywhere, right? So it's actually very challenging to focus and to pick what to do. So I just I took all the classes. Like when I first went to college, I just said, okay, I'm gonna do an associate's degree. I'm gonna start with all the basic classes that everyone needs: the math, the English, the communication, the writing. And then I was like, on low-key, I was still saying, I'm going to this. I applied everything. I was like, okay, poli-sci. I was for it. I knew the pathway that I could get through there. But when that opportunity was closed down, when I couldn't transfer into the program to go into the pre-law program that I wanted to, I realized that I had all the classes for nursing. And so I had other friends that were doing the same classes that I was doing, and so I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the program, and it was very difficult. It's a difficult program. It was an associate's degree program in nursing. But when I tell you a third of the class failed out within 1 or 2 semesters, it was one of those types of programs. And so I knew that I had to, not just be smart, but be intentional about my studies, be intentional about how I spent my time, be intentional about, being focused and, actually putting the effort into doing this, because it's very easy to give the least when you're not passionate about it. But when God is saying, you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And sometimes in submitting, I remember like going into tests and I'd be like, I failed, and this is going to be the reason that I don't continue. And I would walk out with a really high passing score, and I would. So it was a petty walk in a lot of ways, but it's also something that I want to share with you guys, because God will be with you in these things when He is the one leading you into these things.
Wow. Okay, we have a question. I'm coming with the mic. I feel some type of way because, guys, this is my blood sister, and she got all the brains. I don't know what I got. Like, God saved all the brains and passed it to her, and I'm over here struggling like, I can't pass this class. And she just smart. She just came out smart. But God bless you. Amen. I think we have some questions in the audience. All right. No, I think Shamel, one question, and then we're going to move on to Sister Kimani and then Elijah.
All right. And I know that all of you guys are well educated. I'd like to know, I think we would all like to know, how much years of schooling did you guys do? And based on your current qualifications, if you don't mind, like breaking down like what those degrees are, what is the income potential currently? So you don't have to say what you make, but I'm just saying like a broad spectrum of what that can look like.
Start, you can.
Oh. Hello? Is it on? Hello?
Yeah, for me, I would say so it's different areas, right? I have colleagues that started off with, doing internal audit and then technology, because it's the profession is in financial service, so it's needed. I would say for me, it took 4 years of school in accounting, and the starting salary for internal audit, say 60,000, but I started at 65, and it goes up. It depends on what area that you're in. It goes up. I know a partner. I work in professional service as well, because I told you I'm in consulting. and I think they get paid up to like $400,000 a year, and I think she's like 35. So it's
Oof. Same question.
Yes. Not 400,000. But God bless you. Oh, that's you.
Coming soon.
I'm sorry. The 400,000 kind of took me off. What's it? Uh, So the qualifications to be a school counselor, you have to have a master's degree in counseling. My degrees, or I have a bachelor's degree, in science from Cornell, and from Columbia is a master of education and a master's of science. And the income ranges from, because I've been in the system for a lot of years. My first year working in the system, my first salary was like 18,000, a year, but that was many years ago. And I had a mentor that told me when I frowned at the 18,000 that just wait, hold out. You're by the time you retire, you'll definitely be in the area of 75 or $80,000 a year in income. And so right now, for the number of years I've been in the system, I would say that without saying what my salary is, it ranges from 130 to 180 $1,000 a year. Yeah, you're welcome.
Man, I'm sure that's pushing somebody today.
Yes, so school is definitely an investment. I want y'all to know that. And I have a master's degree. I had 2 associate's degrees because of the pathway. I just kind of ended up with 2. And then once my associate was in nursing, so I started with an RN degree. And then I got a bachelor's in RN, and then a master's, which concentration in a family nurse practice. So the time, each associate was about 2 years each. I took some time in between doing my associates and my bachelor's, so that took another year and a half to do that. The master's program was a 32-month program, so almost 3 years. I finished it a little early because they let you double up the last semester if you wanted to. But it's a lot to consider because you have to, you're still paying for all the classes even if you're doubling up on it. So, you come out with these student loans. If you don't have a way to pay, I have to put a plug here for community college because that God saved me from a 4-year university because I was going to be disobedient. But in going through a community college pathway, I was able to save so much. And when I graduated, my first nursing job, I was making about $21 an hour. I got into the ICU, so it really depends on what area of nursing that you work in. Like I worked in peds, I've worked in outpatient. I worked in outpatient. I worked on med-surg floors. I spent most of my years in the ICU, so medical ICU, so doing lots of cardiac stuff. So that nursing salary went up to about 36, 37 an hour. As a new grad nurse practitioner, I want to say the salary range was, depends, between 100 and like 120 starting. But they do each year, you get like at least 3 or 4% increases. So, I'm not throwing my salary out there, but between 120 because of the degree that I'm in, when you get like a part-time, you can work extra hours, if you choose to, like I choose to, because I'm paying off the little bit of loans that I do have, and so that when you can get a job that's like $65, $75 an hour, and for whatever how many hours you work, so their potential is there to like easily make 170, 180 a year.
Okay. I believe there's a follow-up question to something you said.
Yeah, I wanted to, something that you say in terms of the number of years you stay, in college. One of the things that, because I'm also, like I said, I'm a college counselor, and so if you're thinking about the length of time you're going to be in college, you're also thinking about the amount of money, it costs to attend college. Very, very extremely, expensive, these days. Like, for example, if I take a school, like Cornell, it's over $100,000, a year. And, but there are ways that you can attend those colleges, and most of the time it's free. You don't have to pay, anything to go to college. It's just that you have to know the information, and you have to be able to communicate, with your parents to know, your parents' numbers in terms of income and et cetera. But there are like thousands of ways that you can attend college and get 100% off of your tuition to 80%, off of your tuition. And unfortunately, a lot of our, students don't know the information, and it's information that's out there. And the school that I'm in, that I work in, the students there are, pretty, wealthy kids, and they are like turning the tables, trying to find money for school. And a lot of times, our students in our community are not doing it. And it's important for you to really, get that information, because they know how important it is to have that money in order for them to get through, a career. And the last thing I want to, to say as well is that when you do go to college, this I talked about, when it comes to finances and et cetera, you got to always remember as young people that there is something called the devil, and it comes along and want to give you free money, okay, with credit cards, okay? And if you don't have a job yet, because you're not in college or got to have a degree yet, and et cetera, if you're unable to pay the money back, that interest will come back to get you. And so just make sure that you play it smart. And sometimes we have to turn down things that are quote unquote free, because it's not free. And sometimes we end up in debt for a lot of years. And that's one of the things I avoided, for years, in terms of that.
Good.
I want to say something. Everything that he says, I agree to, right? Regarding college, right? What he said about, the school you go to, I came from Megabus College. Is, off the block, right? I would say don't let no one discourage you, right? It doesn't matter what school you go to. You just have to work a little harder. I am not ashamed to say I came from nothing to something, right? I started college with financial aid, and I left college with a career. Like my last year, I got a career at the biggest bank. I think it still is the biggest bank in the world. So people will discourage you. People had said to me, "Oh, the school you're going to is trash. The people, you ain't gonna get nowhere." Yeah, and to me, that motivate me to go outside of my community and to find better. So I think someone told me this too. It's not the school that makes you; it's you that make the school. So always think of that, and just keep pushing. Right? Find your passion. Find what you want. And the next thing too, like, people treat others differently because of their background or who they think they are. And I still get it till today. But you have to tell yourself and be close to God. So let He lead you. Let He find a mentor for you. Let He find someone to put you in the path that you want to be. And then the next thing I want to say about financing, I would say just be careful with financing, read the fine print. Credit card is really great, right? Student loan is good and it's helpful, but the thing with student loan and the thing with students is that when they make the money, they just want to pay the bare minimum. If you work on paying, just paying off your loan, paying off the principal, it gets you really far, and the faster you pay it, the better for you. So that's all I wanted to say.
My question is for Tareen. Okay. You mentioned that you was putting your money away in a bank. So, like, when can you take it out?
You can take it at any time. So it's the bank that I use is Citibank. It's online. There's no fees because it's online. They're not paying people in the teller, hourly. You get high interest rates. So every month I will get like 5% of of interest. So I think one time I had like $20,000, and towards the end of the year I made like $500 in interest. So I think that's good instead of like putting into like a Chase Bank, a Citibank that you just get nothing out of it. You get interest out of it. As well.
Right, but you had mentioned that the point of the bank was that you couldn't take out the money and you couldn't touch
Oh,
it. So
yeah. So that's my method, right? So I didn't want it to, and I've been doing this since I was in college, right? I used to do it with like a Citibank, so I would like take my money and put it in Citibank and just cut the debit card so I not to go, and then I noticed when I started my second year in my career, I'm like, okay, I have so much money in Citibank, I'm not taking it out, but I'm doing good, but it's not making money for me. So I just start doing some research and finding ways how to get interest on my money, and then I found like Citibank, and it's based on the market. So sometimes it gives 4%. So I read about it and I found that it's online. You have access to it, but not like not immediate access to it. So I have a checking account and I have like a savings account with Chase, but like for the bigger, money, it's in that account.
okay, so one more thing. So the reason you couldn't touch it was because you cut up the credit card.
Because I cut up when I was in like college. But that account, I don't think I have a credit card. I mean, I don't think I have a debit card for it. To access it, I will have to transfer it to my Chase account to access it, and it takes 24 hours.
Hey, my question is for Mrs. Dainty. So I'm going into nursing now, and it's kind of similar. Like, I didn't really have like that hunger for it. It's something that God's leading me to. So I want to ask, how did you balance social life with schooling, and then how did you get like, I guess, motivated to keep pushing yourself, even though it wasn't your first choice, obviously, and it wasn't something that you really desired to do in the beginning?
That's a great question. And the honesty of it is that in nursing, because it's, even though, like I said, you can be smart and do it, it really is a lot of information that you're digesting, and it takes an intense amount of focus to be able to effectively and efficiently pass the tests and get the grades that you need. So social life died for me for many, many years. And that's the truth of it. You try really hard, but it's an investment. It's an investment in yourself, and those people know when you're like, I got to study. I have papers. I got another paper. It's so much. It's something that you just have to choose to do it. On the other end of that is autonomy. You have that money. You have the freedom. And it's a few years of sacrifice, but you get there. So that motivation comes from being a finisher. Like, if you're a person that doesn't want to just leave something unfinished, then you finish it. If you get a bad grade, you do it again. You do the next thing and the next thing. Nursing is really about the next assignment, the next chapter, the next book, the next class. So if you're a person who thinks about being a finisher, finish the assignment. That's literally your motto. Strive. You got to strive to finish. If you don't finish it, if you don't submit the paper, if you don't do the work, then you're going to just leave it, unanswered, and you will never know that you were able to actually get it done.
Oh, the question is for Tyrion. Sorry. Do you know if you have to have a specific degree in finance to get into the industry, or you could have any degree?
I would say, any great degree. Like I said, I started my career in banking, and I know people have different degree in finance. So it's accounting, finance, economics, computer science. So yeah, you can have like any degree, but not like a degree in like sociology or nursing or some stuff, things like that. It's but a degree in those fields, mathematics, yeah.
Okay, my question is for Coach. You spoke about like grants and scholarships and stuff. Is there a specific website that we go to where we see like a list of scholarships that we can apply to? Where do we find the scholarships?
Okay. They're awesome. And when I work with my students, prepare them for college, one of the things that I, tell them is that in terms of your application, so when I mention my students who end up getting scholarships to go to college, most of that, 95% of it is coming from the universities themselves. I'm not against scholarships, per se. They are, number one, very competitive, to get, and sometimes the amount of money that they give is $2,000, $3,000, and et cetera. So I'm not saying not to apply for them, but the colleges typically give our students $40,000 and $50,000, a year to go to school. So I tell students that the biggest scholarship application is your college application, and it goes from things like your grade point average, maybe your SAT scores, but those things are important, but they're also extracurricular, activities that you do, clubs that you may be, involved with, your essays that you write. All those things contribute to that bigger amount of money. And then there are programs that are available through the state and the federal government that provide most of the scholarship money. Again, for me to attend, a private school, my mom income was like $5,000 a year to raise 4 children. So definitely she could not afford, to pay for us to go to college. So it was through the university that they gave me all the money that I needed to go. But I will give Reverend Forrest information about the different scholarship programs for you guys can take advantage of, and et cetera. But definitely keep in mind how important your application is, for college. Okay.
Yes, right. I think my question is for you, but anybody can jump on. You're in the nursing field, correct? That's what you wanted to do? No? You wanted to, okay, so when you realized that wasn't, all your life you wanted to be a lawyer, right? So when you realized that's not where you're heading, how did you deal with that disappointment? Was it disappointing for you? And if it was, yes, no? If it's a yes, how did you deal with it?
I dealt with it by really looking at the why. You always have to have a why for why you're doing things. And when I realized that my why was just the money, I realized that it wasn't enough for me to just hold on to that and to say that I'm definitely going to be making X amount if I become a lawyer, when there are lawyers that don't make great amount of money, depending on the pathway that you go to. So grieving that disappointment is in that, okay, I'll never know what it's like to be that person, is something that I had to just accept and put it away, because this career has so much potential that I would be limiting myself in continuing to grieve that. Because honestly, if I wanted to go to law school, I could just apply, like take the LSATs and try to get into law school if I really, really wanted to do that in another stage of life. But I acknowledge that this is the pathway that God wants me on for this season. And so if I do end up going to law school in 10, 20 years, then amazing. That would be great. I will have it. But it's okay to not get what you want whenever you want it, you know? That sometimes you have to grow up and accept.
Well, I'm trying. I wanted to do track and field. I wanted to be on your screen. I wanted to be still want to be on somebody's screen. I don't feel, how do I say this? Sports is what I grew up on. That is the only thing I wanted to do. So when I realized that's not where I'm heading, I don't know, this great, it's not just a little disappointment, but it's a great disappointment. I don't know how to navigate after that. Yeah, so that's why I asked that question. But I still do I feel like if I do not do something concerning sport, I don't feel like I am living, doing anything right.
I just chime in and I'll pass it on. You just have to understand that there are different types of gifts. You have your natural gifts, and you can be naturally gifted at sport. You can be a natural singer. Some things are just innate, and you will always have a passion to do that. There's also things that are skills, and you got to put an effort to do a skill, and sometimes if the natural gifts are not working out, then you have to invest in a skill that may be something that's associated with what you're naturally gifted at, but you got to put in work. You can be a person who likes track and field, but you could coach. Yeah, you could love it and be like participate in that for your whole life, and it be something that you do passionately, you know. So you gotta put perspective into what you're thinking of: career versus passion versus purpose.
Gonna come back to you.
I would say if you're very passionate in sports, you can still do it. I would say go for it, because that's your thing. That's what you want. And what I noticed with me too, being an accountant was a plan B. I wanted to be a business owner, but I didn't have no money. I'm like, how could I be a business owner if I had no money? So studying accountant was my plan B, and I enjoyed it. I went to school, but my passion is still owning businesses and have things outside of work, which I got it now. And what I noticed, I was telling my friend, I meet a lot of people because I travel, and the people are, this girl that I know, she's a public example. She's a lawyer, so she went to school, how much years, she passed the bar, she's a lawyer. And she quit her job, and she's like a world traveler. So what I noticed with these travelers, right, with whatever career that they have, right, their goal was always to be traveling, always to not work under someone. However, they did their plan B, which was get a career, right, in something that they're interested in or somewhat interested in, because I guess, she probably hated her job or whatever. Like, I would say sometimes I hate my job too, right? But you have a career, you have an education. They worked on their plan B, and now they're enjoying their plan A. So I don't know how she does it, right? But a lot of them do it, especially in my company, right? I know this lady, she started with me from the beginning. I guess she saves, she invests, and then when she reached to a point, I guess a senior manager, she quit the job completely, and she became she opened up a gym, and now she managing a gym. So you can do whatever you want, just work on your plan B for like 5 years. It don't take that long. 5 years, get that money, and then you do whatever you want. For sports, I would say it's easier. You can work on your plan B, and then, after your job, you can do it. Because I know this lady as well, we started together. She, and we did, like, my job sometimes is 10 hours. We used to work until like 11 o'clock at night. And she would set time. I think she was a dance teacher. So after work, she would go and teach dance. Like once a week, 5 p.m., she's like, oh, I have to teach my students. So you can, do whatever your passion, whatever you like, and then also find something that brings money to the table.
I relate to what you said, okay, but in a slightly, different way. When Reverend Forrest came down for my team as a freshman, um, I called her over to me one day in the park at Fort Greene Park, and she and I talk about this all the time. And where I said to her, "This is not for you, right? This is not for you, right?" And so she just looked at me, and she knew I was gonna drop her from the team. And so to say that we had been together for I don't know how many years now, right? Since she was 14 years old, and I say that because she always tells me the reason that you did not kick me off the team is because I was put here to be in your life, right? And she has been there. Track and field came to me, I guess, as maybe a third thing I wanted to do, and I used that as a platform to open up doors for me to do other things. So when I spoke before, I was saying that it's very, very important for you as young people to keep an open mind, okay, to the things that are out there that's available to you. So if track and field is what you want to do, okay, continue with that path, but also just be open to other things that may come up, for you, down the line. And because all the years I ran track, the only reason I started coaching is because it was in me. It became a passion within me. Although I knew I was going to be a school, counselor, because I really truly feel that what God had meant, for me, because anything that I tried to do different from that path from when I was a first grade, God put blocks there to say, no, this is what you're going to do, right? And I tried my best to get around it, and he put stuff there, for me to say, no, this is the direction you're going to go in. And I accepted that. I'm saying that because of the question that you had asked before, or someone asked, about disappointment. I never felt, disappointed that I didn't become that lawyer or that architect or that engineer that I was thinking about doing because of the money, and I just accepted the fact that I had to go with the gift that God, gave me from the first grade. Okay, and I was going to go with that. And so when you spoke and you said this is all that you want to do, and et cetera, I identified, with that, because I also feel and sense, that there's other things there, for you, and you just got to be open to it.
One more. Okay.
Along your journeys, within finding your career, working within your career, did you receive any mentorship? And if so, how did you become connected? Did you seek them out, or did it kind of just fall into your lap?
Mentorship for me came in the form of what I didn't want to to become or what I wanted to be different from. Especially in the nursing field, I know things are changing, but it's changing slowly. And there's a saying that nurses eat their young, and it's the truth in many areas. So as I started my career and as I was going through it, I was often just faced with, can I do this for 10 years? If the answer is no, then what am I going to do to get into the place where I can be happy with going to work and showing up and being present? And so mentorship comes when you seek it out in those areas. The person that's going to say, yeah, you could definitely do that. And so those people are also in your circumference, or they were always in my circumference, that were always saying, yeah, like, why not try this or try that? And so that's how certain doors opened for me to move from, one area of practice to another area of practice. But it was accepting guidance. That guidance sometimes come from, I'm not working with you no more. And making a shift, pivoting, when you have to.
At your workforce, did you receive any mentorship? And if so, did you seek it out, or did it just kind of just fall in your lap?
I would say what happened was, like I said, came from Mega Evers, right? In this, environment, I would say same culture, everyone is Caribbean. And then I got my first job, my first career, because I've been working since I was like 18. And I started corporate America, which was so new to me, right? It's literally a different world, and not a lot of people look like me or speak like me. Like, I will always say, the first year, I felt like they were speaking a different language, even though I know the work, but I just couldn't understand them because I never really grew around white people, work around white people, so it was so hard. And I was hard on myself too. And my boss, she's white, she's from Europe, and she used to tell me, like, your work is so great, So I wasn't believing in myself because we came from, two different places. So as I got comfortable, I start, getting confident, and things start, not working the way I wanted to work, because the devil is always around. And I started like going to church, and I think, I don't know where I got this from, but I heard that ask God to find someone to lead you, right? You need someone to lead you. And I'm like it was just in my head, like, okay, God is going to send someone to lead me. And out of nowhere, I just reached out to this lady that I was working around, and I asked her, I was like, listen, I need help to navigate corporate, right? And like, okay, I can help you. And like, I would tell her what I'm going through, and she's like, you know what? I know what you're going through. Some people just jealous. Some people, just don't want you here. Some people don't think you deserve to be here. And she like helped me. And throughout my entire life, that's what I've been doing. It's like, and I tell people that too, just go to God with your prayers, right? And then he will find someone, to lead you, to get to where you need to go. And you have to trust him. You have to trust it. You will know when he's speaking to you. He speaks to me. I feel like he speaks to me all the time. Things just pops up in my head, and I'm like, okay. And it brings me to the next level.
Awesome. Come on, put your hands together for our speakers today. Are you guys getting great information? How are you feeling? All right, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question to our, because I feel like money is on everybody's mind. I know that, in our world today, it's highly important to have good credit to do a lot of things. What are some advice you can give to our audience today in how to to obtain or maintain or even start a credit journey?
I would say start now. How I obtained my card, right? I don't remember what I was doing, but I went to like Citibank, and the man was like, "Do you want a credit card?" I'm like, "Oh." And he did something. I don't know. He just put in any amount of money. Because I think I was doing an internship. I was probably like making $10 an hour, and I don't know. I think he just put in some lies, and I got a credit card. But that works. It did, right? I would say when you have a credit card, if your max is like 500, spend less than 30% every month. And if you are spending more than 30%, pay it off, right? The next thing I would say, right, is to just pay it off every month, right? I like money, so I don't like to give away my money. I'm not giving the bank any interest. So to avoid interest, pay it off every month. The next thing too is don't go too close to the limit. It's really bad. And what else? I think that's it. I think the more credit card at the same time, the better. You just have to know how to manage it, right? If you have a high limit, it's great. I would say start now because it ages. So as it ages and as, the credit bureaus see that, you're very disciplined, you can get more credit card, you can get a lot of opportunities, you can, get a cheaper loan on your car, you get a cheaper loan on your house. So my advice is to start now, start managing it now, start learning about it now, start researching now. And people always ask me, tell me about credit card. And I'm like, I can't tell you because if I tell you, it'll take like 2 days or more. You have to learn about it every single day. Until today, I'm still learning about it. So start now.
I'm going to add to that because, again, my favorite person is Reverend Forge Shanika. Just yesterday, my son asked me, how was Shanika? And I said, she's doing great. She's doing really, really great. And I say that because I was with her journey, like I said, since she was 14 years old. And I remember her going to college. And I also remember some of the struggles that she, had. And I just want you to know that given her as an example, anything you're going to do in life as far as your career is a process, okay? And in that process, there are some of us who are going to jump from college into a very, very successful job. But for a lot of us, including myself, it didn't happen that way, okay? I had part-time jobs. I had jobs that I did not want to do, but I had to do it because of the fact that I needed money. It wasn't a want. I needed, money to take care of my 2 little kids, and et cetera. So I did, odd jobs here and there until I was able to get into the school system. And being a part of the school system, one of the benefits of that, and this is the thing that you guys need to, just to think about in terms of that process, is that those little jobs that you have build onto the bigger jobs, right? And in terms of making money, it's just having benefits, okay? Working at a job that has benefits, being able to invest, have your job invest, your money into stocks and bonds, and et cetera, that I pretty much close to almost $1 million in stocks and bonds and not even knowing it, okay? So those are the things that you need to do. And going back, in relation to, Shanika, I've seen some of the things that she has done. I remember her first job working at this ice cream shop, where she was like behind the counters and selling things, to becoming the manager of one of those restaurants, and then seeing her travel, to different parts of the country, with her company, and then looking at the things that she's doing that's a really great, example. And those are the things that she's right here that you can talk to her about and to understand some of the process she has going through. Okay, so those things are very, very, important. And also, just to make it, real quick in terms of mentors. My biggest mentors, to be honest with you, I had a few teachers that were really great, with me, and they're also counselors when I was in college. But my biggest mentors were my peers, and I had the right peers, behind me that basically taught me a lot of things. And that's what I do when I work with my students. I basically try to get them to learn, from each other.
Just wanted to chime in on the financial aspect of this, because regardless of what job you're in, the financial piece is going to matter. There are books that you can read. One of the books I would recommend is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or The Richest Man in Babylon is another book that is very easy to read, especially at a young age. And it teaches you those concepts in biblical ways about how to save and how to give. Since we're talking about the saving portion, even if you're at McDonald's, like my first job was McDonald's in high school. If you start saving 10% automatically when you get your first job, second job, make that something that you just automatically do. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, it's so much money once you've been doing it for a while. You don't focus on the little bit that is being taken out. It's a sacrifice to get to where you want to go. So McDonald's job, I worked at Walmart. So, and make sure when you are doing those investment accounts, those 401k or 403, you have to actually sign up to do those. A lot of times your jobs won't automatically sign you up for it, so you don't even know that you can do it. But look into it. If you've been working at a place, you're getting a paycheck, look into it. Start saving 5%, 10%. It's like a meal that you guys go out and eat each week. It adds up with time though. Okay, so that way when you do get those bigger jobs and now you're making 100,000, you can say, I'm going to put 10% down, and it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, that's so much. No, and you actually see it. You can say, okay, wow, I've saved more than 100,000 and I didn't even know it. It's one of those things that you have to practice it, and you have to be consistent about it and not saying, oh, I see I got 20,000, I'm going to withdraw it and I'm going to do something. No, let it be an investment into your future and let it add and let it grow with time.
Awesome. Thank you. We're winding down. We have lunch at 12. I believe, Tareen, you have she wanted to add something real quick. And then I have about another 2 or so questions, and we'll wrap up.
I agree with you, right? It's not about the money. It's about the discipline. Like I told you, in my industry, people make a lot of money, but some people, like this guy I know, he makes probably $200,000. We the same age, and he lives from paycheck to paycheck. So it's like, okay, what are you doing? He's renting. He has a roommate, and he got to be in front row seat when Beyonce comes out. She got to spit on. That's what I say. But it's about the discipline, right? And I've been to I like business panels before COVID, and this person, she worked at I think JCPenney, making $7 an hour, and she was able to save and invest and own so much property, just making in New York City, right? So the point that I'm making is discipline. Some people make hundreds of thousands of dollars and can't even afford to get an apartment. Meanwhile, some people just making $20 an hour and they having properties and doing things. So it's not even about the money. It's just the discipline and how you save it, how you allocate it, how you invest it, and you'll go far with it.
All right. Amen. We could clap for that. Discipline. Self-discipline. Amen. All right. So winding down, I know we talk a lot about each of you, your career, the path that you took included some level of college, going to college and getting the degrees to be where you are. What advice do you have for someone who feels like, college is not for me? Advice to that person, how to still strive and to, still get what they need, or to that parent who really want their child to go to college, but their child is choosing not to go to college. What advice do you have for such a one?
Since I had the mic, in my hand, well, two things. I think you had mentioned one of the about scholarships, and one of the things I thought about while I was here, there's a website that's pretty good. It's called Going Mary, and I'll give that to Shanika to give to you guys. How many of you heard of a book called The 7 Habits of Successful People? I think it is. You heard of that one? Okay. I gave that book to my son when I had to do a youth version of it. And I gave it to him and some of my other students since they were, like in junior high school. Very, very important, book. And one of the things that I always speak to students about in references to that book is to always keep the end in mind, okay? Think about where you want to go and then plan, from there. Always keep the end in mind. College isn't for everybody, and that's very, very true. Okay, it's a reality. There are, trade schools that are also available, vocational schools that are available, to students. The high school I work in now, 98% of the students end up going to college, but I also know that 98% don't want to go to college. Okay, so I began to introduce them to vocational schools, other post-secondary, options, and then I'm seeing, a slight increase of students that are deciding to go, that direction. The other thing is that it's important for parents, to know that sometimes we have to let our kids fly in the direction that they want to go in, but it's also important to know the discipline, okay? And being disciplined is also, knowing, what not to do, okay, as a part of your journey. So if you decide to go and you don't want to go to college, decide to work in the supermarket, like Martin Luther King said, it's not what you do, it's how much effort and energy that you put into it. Just be the best person that you can, because on that job, because as you grow, in life, you change. Okay, and I've seen so many young people who decide that I don't want to go to college, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, and they're doing fine, in life, because they mature, and then they end up going back to college, later on, in life. So my advice is, again, keep an open mind. Also make sure that if you do decide to, whatever you decide to do in life, make sure it's what you want to do. Don't make a decision based upon anybody else, your parents or your friends. Make sure it's something that you want to do.
And my advice would be to really make sure that is the decision that you're making and not the choice that you're picking just out of fear, because the education system is intimidating for someone who doesn't come from parents that have been there and done that. And I can say for myself, I don't have parents that have been there and done that, so I know exactly how it feels to be the first person making that journey. And there are people, reach out, find that person. Like, if it's something that is in the back of your head, but you just don't know if you're able to do it, then say that. Like, search out the right people that can guide you to help make sure that decision that you're making is the right one for you. Because you may just have not asked the right question to realize that you are able and more than able to, get the resources that you need and, be able to actually do this and do it well. But if you don't decide to go to a college, I would just encourage you to, whatever you're doing, lean in and make sure that you're going to do whatever it is that you've chosen to do in excellence. There's no such thing as, I just don't know and I'm floating. You can't float through life. You've got to figure out what it is that you are purposed to do and put your all into getting that done. So in the same way that college students are setting goals and meeting deadlines, that you, if you're not going to college, then you still have to have goals and deadlines and achievements and things that you are working towards, or, or else, like, what are we doing? So those are the questions that if I ask my, young nieces and nephews who are not going to school, like, what are we doing? You got to have an answer, or I don't receive that. So, okay, so that lean in,
Amen. Amen. And on that same,
I would say, ask yourself this question, right? Will this plan, whatever plan that you have, will it be able to help me survive if I have to do it independently? So without your parents, without anyone. And how long would it take me to get there, right? Because, yeah, everyone speaks of, oh, go to college, go to college. You go to college sometimes, right? And that's why I would say we all are blessings, right, to get our career. You go to college, you do really well, and you still don't have a career. You still back to level 1, right? And you just got to figure it out. So you have to have a plan, right? The next thing, too, is not everyone goes to college and make it, right? I know people that just did a 4-month class and I think coding, and they making $90,000 a year. So I would say live your passion righteously, have a plan, be disciplined, and then take it from there, right? Some plans takes a lot of sacrifice. If you saying, okay, I'm gonna be at home and I have this plan to be a YouTuber or Instagram person, whatever, I'm gonna depend on my mom or whatever, and then being a YouTuber is gonna give me this amount of income and whatever, go for it. But always have a plan and always have a backup plan. And like I said, sometimes you just need a backup plan first to go to your major plan. So there's always, life is short. You can just graduate college tomorrow and die the next day. I know a lot of people who, plan, save up for their big house, and then never ever get to go in their big house. So, with that being said, I would just say be disciplined, and some people gonna be mad at me, but not all the time you should listen to your parents, right? Because they come from a different age. And I would say for me too, right? When I have kids, I'm gonna come from a different age. So it's technology now, it's this now, right? When they come along, I wouldn't suggest them to listen to everything I say, because I come from a different age. And right now, when I'm training like new people, like just come from college, they're teaching me as well, and I'm learning from them. And I have to know how to navigate and speak with them, because they're more knowledge than me in certain areas. Certain areas I don't care about anymore. Like, in technology and how to make things easier, how to make things efficiency. So I think that everyone needs to be respected, and I think, some, parents doesn't understand that, and some people, managers, doesn't understand that. Like, everyone has a time, right? And you could be the king today, but you're not going to be the king tomorrow. Everyone has a time. So you just have to be mindful and be respectful to anyone, because the same person who didn't want to go to college is the same person that's going to end up being the billionaire. And you probably will need him one day.
all right. Thank you, one and all. All right. So my last thing. So, for anyone here today that felt like I missed my chance, I missed my moment, I didn't go to school when I should have, I didn't go to college, fresh out of high school, I feel like I am behind all my peers, I'm behind all my friends, I'm playing catch up. How do you encourage them in their journey forward? How can you encourage them? In 1 minute, we're wrapping up. Dainty.
I would say to not stay so focused on what is behind you. Like the fact that you are alive and that you have strength and you have the soundness of your mind, if you still have a will to pursue something, just pursue it. I feel like I'm always starting something new. You can always start something new again. You know, you finish one thing and then you start another. So just because college may not have worked out, but if you're starting something new today, you can do it. I feel like if I was to start a new degree today, I'll do it. You know, so just be encouraged. Like just because you are so many years are behind you and so many things you've already done, that doesn't mean nothing about tomorrow. You know, AI may take over. I may not have a job tomorrow. I'm gonna have to start something new. You know, and so we're gonna have to adapt.
I mean, real quick. With all the things that I feel that I have accomplished, you know, in life, I still feel that there are things that are missing and things that I need to do, you know, in life. I was in the church as a kid since I can remember, since 3 years of age, and I used to crawl underneath the pews. You know, I still remember that. And I think that because of that experience I've had, you know, in the church, that I always feel that I had the faith to make it through. And so if you recall, and I was talking about, you know, being behind in reading, you know, in writing, and math. If I would have given up, I would not be here. And that was as late as the 9th grade, right? So every step of the way throughout my life, I feel that there's that challenge of being behind, you know, in that, and I'm still learning, because there are a lot of things I still do not know, okay, because of things that I missed out on because I wasn't able to read and write. But the important thing is that I really, you know, truly believe, you know, like I said, that God put me here for a particular reason. So even if I feel that I'm behind, I will continue, you know, to strive to look for opportunities to start over again, to accomplish the things that I still want to accomplish in life. And that includes, you know, one day, as old as I am at this point in time, I'm still planning to go back to school to get my PhD that I did not finish. Okay?
Come on, stand on your feet and put your hands together for them. Amen. We bless God for your lives. We thank God for everything that you have poured out today into our youth. We do appreciate you coming. We thank you so much. We have a little bit of tokens for each of you just to show our appreciation. Right? So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. And to our counselor, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And to our nurse practitioner, thank you so much. Come on, put your hands together for them. Amen. May God continue to bless your lives, that you'll continue to increase and go forward in Jesus' name. We have lunch downstairs for each and every one. So we'll bring